Hi everyone. Happy Tuesday. Today is day 14 of the video challenge that I'm doing. And so I'd like to continue on the topic of emotional intelligence and really talk about living authentically, which is a really hard thing to do. And when I think about, living authentically, the words that come to mind for me to describe that are genuine, transparent, real, and vulnerability, right? Those are kind of the four words that for me really define authenticity. And I think that in order to live an authentic life, we really have to have a very strong sense of self-worth, and that really needs to include unconditional self-love as well as a strong sense of our own personal value. Because if we don't have a strong sense of self-worth, then we end up making decisions and living our lives to please other people versus ourselves. And this is something that I'm really learning about myself, is that I've always felt very insecure and had very low self-worth. And the more that I dig deep and get to know myself, and stop kind of that banter, that, the negative advertising that goes off in my mind, I'm better able to speak my truth. So essentially, how do we live an authentic life? And I think first it requires really digging deep. It really requires us to have a great self-knowledge and awareness of ourselves. And so we really need to turn the mirror inward and look at ourselves and get to know ourselves, get to know what our communication styles are, what our personality types are like, to help us be able to describe and understand how we view the world around us and why we react in certain ways. I think it's also really important for us to acknowledge and accept our strengths and weaknesses. We all have strengths and weaknesses, and we need to work towards our strengths, and we need to really accept our weaknesses, so that we can be honest with ourselves on areas of strength and growth. The last is that we really have to have a strong set of beliefs and values, because without beliefs and values, we really don't have a foundation to come from, because they really frame our authenticity, right? And the place in which we're coming from. I think that this, why all of this is important is because it really liberates us from the pressures of living our lives trying to be something that we're not. And essentially, or imitating what we think our lives should be like, or what we've been told they're supposed to be like. When we're living that way, we're coming from a place of fear, but we're also living our lives to please others or to avoid conflict. And really, to be authentic, there shouldn't be the word should in our equation. And I think, that becomes very difficult, right, for many of us. And especially me. And I think that, we do ourselves a disservice to ourselves and to others when we are not authentic and we don't speak our truths. And the best example I can give of this is that, we can only control ourselves and how we react. And if we are constantly trying to please others, not setting boundaries about the behavior we're willing to accept, or being honest with what our needs are, we really can't be upset by others because for treating us in a certain way, because we essentially teach people how to treat us. And so when we don't set up boundaries, we don't value ourselves enough to have boundaries and to say no, we're teaching somebody how to treat us. And then when we're not honest about what our needs are, and we expect people to read our minds, we really cannot be angry with other people. You know, we can't expect that of others, to know what we need or to read our minds. And that's game playing. Our brain, unfortunately, loves drama. Our society loves drama, and that just feeds into the drama. And so it's really important, in order to be live from an authentic place, to be really honest about our boundaries, so that we're coming from our values, core values and beliefs, and that we're being really clear about what our needs are. Because then that honors who we are, but also it improves our relationships, and it drastically decreases our unhappiness with our relationships, or our frustration that we have with our relationships. Essentially, what it does is it unhooks ourselves from the past. It turns off that movie that plays in our head, or that false advertising that plays in our head, and it helps to ground us and keep us in the present. And when we're grounded, we come from a place of openness, of curiosity, and then we end up being able to accept ourselves and others and come from a place of love. And, for me, that means that, we're constantly a work in progress. Living authentically isn't something that we achieve and then we kind of live it for the rest of our lives. I think living authentically is, something that's not stagnant, that we have to work at every day as we get to know ourselves, and as we change and evolve, as we age and as we have new experiences, we learn a little bit more about ourselves. I think that we are like onions, right? We have a lot of layers, and to be honest, it wasn't until my burnout that I realized I didn't know very much about myself. I didn't know what my likes and dislikes were. Certainly I had a very strong ethical foundation. I had really strong values, but I really didn't know me. All I knew about myself was that I was a nurse, and that really, was my identity. And I'm so much more than that. So anyways, I'd really like to hear from you. Does this resonate with you? Is that your definition of authenticity? Is there anything that you would add? What does authenticity mean to you? Anyways, this is day 14. Tomorrow is day 15. I'm halfway through. Thank you for watching. Have a good night. Bye, guys.